Today I'm going to be going over each and every single setting in Fortnite Mobile that I've used to become a pro player over the last 7 years. On top of that, I'm going to be giving some very specific tips and tricks on how to increase the performance and optimization of Fortnite Mobile when you're playing. And all I ask in return is that if you get any sort of help or knowledge from today's video, then just consider subscribing to the channel. We're so close to 1 million subscribers, and I appreciate all the support. So let's jump into these settings. Now we could do that by just heading over to the icon in the top right hand corner, the little settings icon, and there you go. This is where basically 90% of your Fortnite Mobile settings will reside. And if you haven't played the game in a few years, it all probably looks a little bit different, but don't worry, we're going to go tab by tab and make sure you guys have the best settings. So starting off on probably what most people are curious about, which is the frame rate, the graphics, the display, everything regarding with how the game looks on your device. Now, depending on the device you have, the highest FPS you might see is only 60, but because I have a new device, I see 120, and you just saw this notice saying basically if you run 120 FPS, your device is going to get hotter, it's going to lose battery faster, and you could have more lag spikes. But if you want the most performance, you're going to want to always have the highest mobile frame rate option selected. And then now for graphic quality, you could click auto set quality, but again, even on this iPad Pro M4 2024 $1,500 tablet, when I click auto set, it puts me down to 60 FPS. That's not the case. That's not what should be running. So don't really trust auto set. And as far as graphic quality, it's kind of the opposite. You rather than wanting to always rock the highest graphic quality, if you want just raw performance, you mean the most frames, the least amount of lag, you're always going to want the lowest quality preset. Now again, there is some different 3D resolution options, which is kind of crazy. There's custom and there's auto. Auto won't let you slide the resolution, and to more easily show what 3D resolution does, we're currently gliding down in a game of Fortnite where we can see the entire map. My game is currently at 100% 3D res, so this is the best my game can look on low graphics. And also the quality presets just changes things like texture and render distance. It doesn't affect the resolution of the game. That's where this slider comes into play, because with it on custom and with that 46%, you can immediately see everything just looks so pixelated. I mean, it looks like we're playing an 8-bit old Mario game, but wait, it can get crazier. Let's go down to like 10%. Let's go 10%. You see what this does now. All of my UI elements are still high quality in HD, but my game is giving me a headache because the 3D resolution is so low. But if you look at my frames, rock solid, because yeah, I mean, the game is running at like 10% of what it should be in terms of its resolutions. If you're ever experiencing any frame drops, that is what the 3D resolution slider is for. It's to more fine-tune your resolution. Now, this is also another personal preference, but if you go with a high texture quality, you can see right here that it's going to use almost 8 gigabytes of more storage capacity to download the textures onto your device, which high textures might look awesome, but they're going to just make your game run a little bit slower overall, overheat your device faster, use up the battery a little bit more. So for that reason, I keep this on low. But by contrast, you should actually pre-download the cosmetic textures, because if you don't, your device is going to always be streaming them and downloading them whenever you're in a game. So that's funny. I already had that turned off for myself, so I need to fix that. And now we've got it on. And if you're ever thinking to yourself, man, my game doesn't feel like it's running good, then the show FPS option is a really quick and easy way to see what your game's performance truly is. Now, although you guys might have low battery, never turn this setting on. It limits your game to like 30 FPS max, and you never want that. And then this, just, you know, keep it on, keep it off. It really doesn't matter. And moving on to audio, these are basically the audio settings I've used for the last few years. I mean, there's not much you can really do, but the one thing that is important for us mobile players is to keep the visualize sound effects setting on. This is the footsteps you see, this is the healing animation you see, this is the shot indicators you see on your screen, because most of the time when you're playing on a phone or playing with speakers, the actual spatial awareness isn't as good. So that's why the visualize sound effects is so clutch for mobile, and I highly recommend you use it. Moving over to voice chat, I don't use it, and I know there is currently a glitch where voice chat is broken, but if you want to turn it on, you could do everybody or just your friends, just your team. And again, really, this is personal preference. I didn't even know there was a text chat, so honestly, I might turn this off as well. I usually communicate with my friends over Discord and not the in-game chat. And so in general, for the voice settings, just whatever your preferences are. Now over here in the games tab, there are literally so many settings. I mean, if we just scroll, there's so many options, but don't worry. You're not gonna get overwhelmed. We're gonna go through this one by one and let you know what's most important. Now, matchmaking region, unless you know for sure which region you are, just keep it on auto. It's gonna make sure you always have the best ping. Again, I'm kind of old school. The game didn't come out with an auto run lock zone turned on. And so instead, I just double tap the movement button, which will then put my character in an auto run. So I keep this turned off. Like right there, double tap to auto run. If you just double tap your movement button, it'll lock the sprint mode and you don't have to keep dragging your finger up to keep your character running. And I think this is also very crucial for movement. It might be a bit tricky to get used to using the sprint button at first, but it allows for so much more mechanical and precise movement of your character when you can activate the sprint. So I would toggle it and then I would use the button in your heads-up display. Now this is kind of the opposite, where auto open doors will make you a little bit less mechanical, but because there's so many doors in this game, I just keep it on. As a mobile player, I just sprint through the doors, and if there's someone waiting for me, then I'll deal with them. Again, personal preference, but I think holding jump makes it a little bit easier to mantle and has less like false activations. Same thing with the hurdle activation. Now for the combat section, again, these are the settings I've been using for years, and it's what I found to work for me and most other players really well. I keep hold to swap pickup turned off, and toggle targeting, never turn this on. Always keep it off. And for the toggle targeting with touch, always keep this setting on. That has to do with the aim button and having to hold the button. And with these two settings, it just makes aiming so much more easy. Now, I didn't even know this setting exists, auto-equip better items, because personally, I feel like it doesn't work all that much. But if keep it on if you're holding a green pump or a green AR and you run over a better variant of the weapon. I'm assuming that's how this works, and it just picks it up and equips it. Now, this is very, very clutch. Auto pickup weapons will save us mobile players a lot of time. And sometimes it can be a little frustrating to deal with, but I think 9 times out of 10, the auto pickup weapons is a great feature to have. And for the preferred item slots, this basically just means that, let's say you always have an assault rifle in your first slot and then a shotgun in your second, then that is exactly how I have mine laid out, where the first slot is the AR, second is the shotgun, third is usually an SMG, and then loadout 4, it's usually consumables or heals. So I actually need to fix that myself. And again, this just saves you a few seconds of having to rearrange your HUD every time you pick up new items at the start of a game. And on to building. Most of these aren't even up for debate. This is just kind of the settings you need to have on. Reset building choice turned on, and then turbo building also turned on. I think that's very self-explanatory. Now, Simple Edit, I'm yet to use it, but I definitely don't think it hurts messing around with it and seeing if it's a playstyle you like. But again, I think long-term, turning it off will allow you to be a more advanced and mechanical player. Disable pre-edit option. Yeah, I hate having pre-edits on, and I don't think many people actually use them. So turning this on is a great feature. Edit with touch. I turned this off, and to explain the difference in edit styles, I can either edit with my crosshair, meaning wherever I look, those tiles will be edited. Of course, I do have to hold down the targeted edit button, but once I do that, these tiles have been edited. I can release and it edits the build. And again, it's just wherever I'm looking and I press and I hold, I edit the tile and it's good to go. Turning the edit with touch on, I no longer can, well, no, I guess I can use this, but I also can use my finger on the screen. Previously, if I were to do that, it would do nothing. Nothing would happen. The only thing I could use is this button to edit. But now I can go to edit mode. I can do that. I can do edit. I can edit a window. I can edit the top. I can, whatever edit I want to do. I now could use my screen to edit instead. And I think if you're a new player, it's a little bit easier to wrap your mind around this. But again, long term, I think like picking your hand up and editing, it's just a bit tricky to get the hang of. And so again, with this setting turned on, try it off, see what you like. And for me, because I do use the edit toggle and reset button, I don't actually have the ability to even have the auto confirm edits thing turned off or turned on for both, because if we do this, then basically I can't even edit. It literally breaks the game because this button is editing and resetting it, and the setting is saying that when it's reset, it's automatically going to confirm the edit. So I literally, with this layout, can't edit at all. So if you're using the edit and reset button on your heads-up display, then only keep this turned on for edits. But again, if you're not using that button, you could try with reset. But if your game is broken for editing, that's probably why, because mobile has some specific features. For the extra options, these are mainly just kind of personal preference. There is one, the easy interact mode, where I think if I drop this, yeah, it's actually shows you a much bigger like display of what this is. Like, oh, this is a shotgun, this is an SMG, it's an AR. Because sometimes mobile is a little bit hard to see what you're actually picking up. And honestly, I'm going to try to keep this setting on because I think most mobile players do use this nowadays. But again, total personal preference. And ending things off in the games tab, I would keep the minimum FOV at the maximum 75 degrees, and same thing for the maximum at 105 degrees. This just means you could see more of your game and it's less zoomed in. Now moving over to UI, I basically have every single thing on besides quest progress, because sometimes it spams the progress and it is just really annoying to always have to see that on mobile because you can't really move them. But everything else, I keep it on, and these are my damage numbers. Now the touch emotion is actually the last mobile specific setting we have in the game to go over. Starting off with the fire mode, you are going to want to use the dedicated button. I know people PC and console players might say autofire is overpowered. It's not. It's definitely easier to pick up the game with autofire, but a dedicated button over time will always make you a better player. Again, it might be a little more difficult to get used to, but it's just going to make you a better player. My fire modes, I keep it disabled. Release of fire, I keep off. And same thing for continuous fire. If you want to, you could try to turn these on. It makes it maybe a little bit easier for new players, but it just gives you a little bit less control overall. Now, this is going to depend very heavily, the touch sensitivity between your play style and also between your device. I play on a big device, so I can keep my touch sensitivity a little bit lower. I have noticed that on some, even just Androids, between phone and devices, they register the inputs differently. So you can try my sensitivities, but there is a very good chance that you will copy my settings and then it will be way too slow or way too fast and you'll just have to mess with it from there. But I think the touch targeting and the touch scope sensitivity are a good place to start. And just for an example of what it being at 100% does, right now, if I look around, it seems normal speed. And usually when you look around, it slows down. But if you keep it at 100%, your game doesn't actually slow down your sensitivity when you're zoomed in. So it's kind of difficult to aim, especially at long ranges. Trying to snipe someone down when it's at 100% makes it a very difficult task, which is why I keep mine around like 35% for both the scope, which would be like a scoped AR or a sniper rifle, and just general touch targeting sensitivity. Now for the building sensitivity, I actually boost mine up to around 140% because same thing. And when I'm editing, I'm usually trying to go fast. I'm usually not, sitting here and just placing piece by piece and having a good old time. Like I'm trying to box or turtle or rotate, and usually faster is better in these scenarios. But if I bump it up to like 200%, then I could. It's really, really fast. It's literally double the speed I'm used to. So like I'm just flicking my screen around and still getting the hang of it. But I say just to try like the 140s and see if that works for you. Now for first person mode, I haven't touched this at all. I don't even know if I've played a first person mode before on mobile. And the vertical sensitivity multiplier, it might be standard around like 70 or 80%. And this just means that your sensitivity left to right is, let's say, normal, and up and down is going to be 80% of the speed. So you're going to have to swipe further up if you want to move the same distance. And I think with how vertical Fortnite is, I mean, there's people shooting above you, shooting below you. You are doing a lot of vertical movement, so I like to keep mine at basically 100%. And this is also the last maybe controversial personal setting. It's the look acceleration strength. So if I turn this to 100%, and I slowly move my finger across the screen, you can see I'm slowly moving it. I'm not looking. But if I do one quick swipe, I just flicked a full 180. I could do another swipe, and we're moving a ton in terms of my character. So really slow, bam, swipe. Now if we go turn this off, if I look really slow, I promise you, this is the same speed I was just moving, and we're moving so much faster. And if I swipe, we're not having that huge whiplash. We're looking like 180 degrees, but nothing further than that. And every time it's consistent, meaning if I'm looking right here and I move my finger all the way over here, I should look back, and yeah, it's in the exact same spot. No look acceleration strength means your sensitivity, no matter how fast you swipe your finger, will always move the same distance on the screen. Versus with 100%, if you move your finger really fast, you're going to look a whole lot more like I'm literally doing a full 360 right now because I'm swiping my fingers fast. And if I move my finger the same distance really slow, I don't even turn 180 degrees. So I hope that sort of demonstrates the look acceleration strength. And so at long distances, a high look acceleration can be very good. But the problem is it's hard to build muscle memory around a high look acceleration strength, because if it's not a fixed movement every time, then it's a bit more difficult. So I definitely lean more towards the sides of having it turned more off, but I still like to have a little bit of look acceleration, because again, even at really long distances, having just a little bit of look acceleration strength makes it easier to hit those long range targets. And of course, aim assist, it's staying on. I don't even have to say anything. Gyro aiming, turn it off, and then since it's off, just none of these settings actually apply. These are the controller settings. You are able to modify basically everything like you can on PC or console, and then you can remap all of your controller settings. So that's basically it. Those are all of the Fortnite mobile in-game settings that you should be using. If you're wondering, hey, what about the heads-up display? I made a full in-depth video on this tool right here, the heads-up display editor, because it deserves it. It's like a 20-minute video going over all of the different options and features and the heads-up display tools and how each thing works. Now, instead, I was going to be giving some general device optimization tips at the end, and we're going to be starting off with background app refresh. I should do this myself, turn everything off, because this will mean that if an app is not open, then it will not be getting updated or refreshed in the background, so it can allow your device to focus more on the task at hand, which will of course be Fortnite. And then apart from that, that, on iOS, all you can really do is clean up some storage. You want to make sure you have at least a few gigabytes of free storage remaining, because this game is a big boy, coming in at 20 gigabytes right now, but luckily I've got a terabyte of storage on my iPad. If you're an Android player, then there might be some more specific device or operating system adjustments you can make to further enhance the performance of your device. You might be even able to unlock some additional RAM or get some applications that clean up storage and RAM usage of other apps on the phone. But just general device tips to get more performance out of Fortnite Mobile. If you're using a case, any sort of phone or tablet case, it's usually best to take those off when playing. This is because the performance of mobile devices is largely based around how hot a device gets. I mean, everyone knows the meme that when you play Fortnite, your device turns into a toaster. You could crack an egg and cook it on the back of a tablet when you're playing games on a mobile device. And this is why usually your phone will lag. If you notice you're playing the game for the first 20 to 30 minutes and everything's running amazing, and then after the 30-minute hour mark, things are starting to lag, you're getting way more frame drops, that's because your device has been constantly working and overheating itself. And each phone has basically an internal sort of heat limit where if a device gets close to the maximum temperature, it's going to slow down the CPU, it's going to slow down the apps it's running to cool the device down. So if you're doing anything that further heats up the device, whether that's using a thick, chunky case on your device that makes it harder for your phone to cool down, or if you're charging your device while playing. I know Fortnite takes up a lot of energy while playing. It drains your battery, but charging your device also heats up your device faster than anything else. So if you're charging and playing at the same time, that is like a super recipe to overheat your device really fast for basically any phone or tablet, iOS or Android. And so not using a case and also not charging a device while playing can be helpful. And I know every one of us loves sharing our clips, loves screen recording our games, and then posting them to Twitter or DMing your friends. But screen recording is also like a terrible, terrible way to further overheat your device, because you're basically using up your phone's storage and CPU at the same time as trying to run Fortnite at max performance, max graphics. And so to compile all this together, not only is your CPU maxing out and your phone just can't handle what you're throwing at it, but also that superheats the device yet again. So anything you can do to make your device run cooler or handle processing tasks a little bit easier, that is going to make your actual Fortnite gameplay experience a whole lot better. Again, you might have to take some cases off, you might have to stop charging, you might have to plan a little bit ahead of time before you're playing Fortnite Mobile. But if you want the maximum true performance and optimization that you can have on a mobile device, those are like the main tips. There are some small other things you can do. You can buy coolers, you can buy laptop coolers, phone coolers, but obviously that's expensive, it costs money, it's bulky, no one's gonna bring them around. And so for free, quick things you can do in just a few minutes, I would highly recommend turning off background app refresh and then trying out some of the other tips I just listed. But at the end of the day, most performance on mobile is just limited to the actual device. If you're playing with a 5, 6, or 7-year-old phone, then it's going to be very, very hard to have little to no lag when playing Fortnite. So just be realistic with the device you're playing on and the hardware limitations you might be experiencing. But if you have any other optimization tips, feel free to leave them down below in the comments so everyone else can benefit from knowledge. If you do something that makes your game run better, or you've heard from a friend that this works for them, then it'd be great if the comment section could be filled with just tons of tips on how to get your game to run better on Fortnite Mobile. But with all being said, thanks so much for watching today's video. Again, if you got any help at all from this, drop it a sub. It would be absolutely amazing. It's been your boy DuckyTheGamer, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Deuces.